And we're live. I don't know, that shouldn't be my sign on, but it is. And this is Ernie with the Trader of Futures. It is Thursday, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. I have to look up at the clock and the calendar to confirm that. Sometimes you lose track of the days when you don't go to a job. I was going to say a real job. But I haven't been to a real job in, I don't know, 20 years. Forgot what that was like to brave the commuter rail or the parking lot out on the highway, also known as a traffic jam. Going to an office with a bunch of people you don't really care about or like. For the most part. Man, I can't remember doing that. Man, it's been such a long time. A long, long time. So today we're going to talk, or I'm going to talk, a little bit about crypto and Bitcoin. And this is going to be my definitive word on it. I want to say that, first of all, clear up some things. I am not a detractor or a saying believer or non-believer. Saying I'm not a non-believer would say that I'm a believer. I'm not a believer in anything. Well, there are a few things, but nothing concerning that I would talk about here. Crypto is not something that you should believe in. I mean, it has become and developed a kind of a cult following. And that if you do not believe or toe the line of Andreas Antonopoulos or some other pundit, Tom Lee, or some other bobblehead, then somehow you are not woke. You're not woke to the reality that is coming. So first of all, I think that there is a future for cryptocurrencies, not in their present form. I think there's a future for Bitcoin, but perhaps not in its present form. It would need to be dramatically altered or improved. It's certainly not ever going to be our reserve currency. Now, that doesn't mean to say there won't be another crypto leader that will come out there and become a world reserve currency. It's very possible. Likely government-backed. Well, and I don't even want to say that. Certainly not a world currency. I mean, world currency implies a lot of different things. Because there are going to be countries that will resist that will refuse to deal in that denomination. So I can't see it. Maybe the world's, or the underworld currency. The alternative currency, I guess. But it certainly won't be the currency of merit ever. Not without being associated with at least one leader in the world. That's the way I see it. It really needs to be associated with a leader. In other words, it has to have some kind of backing. The United States dollar is backed by the United States. A lot of people say, well, it's not backed by anything. It's just fiat. Which is true. So, Casper, you didn't inspire me at all. As a matter of fact, you're kind of, maybe in a way, this is just to say, go away. I don't want to talk about crypto. It doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't provide any kind of quality of life for me, or for most people. for the vast majority of people. It has all these promises and platitudes that are, in my view, unattainable. So, yeah, Demarip, the pyramid backwards, says there are famous YouTubers quitting Patreon because of censorship problems, and even MasterCard and PayPal aiding these platforms in demonetizing some users. Can crypto serve as an alternative? No. What can serve as an alternative is an alternative payment processing method. One that hasn't been taken by the neck by the social justice warriors and the big corporations that want to, they're the ones that want to squelch your speech. Now, see, Casper, this is where you go off the rails in saying that XRP is revolutionizing the banking sector, which couldn't be further from the truth. You're such a fucktard when it comes to that. It's not even close. XRP and Ripple have no chance of ever revolutionizing the banking sector, ever. Not in my lifetime, not the foreseeable future. And so, you know, your love affair, your monkey spank over XRP is completely misguided. So, you know, I want to say that, first of all. It's just such bullshit XRP has any chance of taking over the banking sector. And besides, what does that mean to you or people in terms of crypto? If it takes over the banking sector and the banks then turn it into a centralized currency, like that somehow has validated crypto, that's such bullshit. You know, you can't even swim in your own bullshit. It's so fucking stupid. I'm very well aware of Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson's efforts, and they're leaving Patreon and wanting to develop an alternative platform. Very aware, and I think that is really where we're going to be going. We're going to be finding alternative platforms for freedom of speech. Alternative platforms. The old platforms have become corrupt. Or I should say that their corruption has reached a level that is untenable. They are collapsing in on themselves. Their ideological ways are imploding themselves. And to say I never looked into it, you have no idea the insight that I have to XRP, to Ripple, to Swift, the entire banking industry. I was entrenched in that industry for decades. I know more about it I've forgotten more about it than you'll ever know. So this is why I'm saying, you know, I don't want to argue this anymore because it's bullshit. It's just totally bullshit to think that XRP in any way is going to be the leader in the banking sector. It's just not true. And I don't even want to talk about that anymore. It's such an inane, insane argument. So Andrew Pippon says decentralized or nothing. So yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, it won't be a real cryptocurrency if the banking industry takes it over. That's such crap. Swift is already developing their own thing, or they'll adopt something. And Swift is in all the major banks. You know, if you want to talk about, and yes, Browse makes a very good point. I'm ignorant to new tech and stuck on your old ways. No, I keep my thumb, the pulse of new tech. I am well aware of it. That's such a lame argument too. That's the lame argument that comes from the believers, the people who are attached to things. I'm not attached to anything, and that's what makes me objective. And so Browse says, invest in marijuana. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Hemp. Hemp is the new and probably will be the most influential cash crop in human history. Mostly because it spans such a wide variety of uses, unlike crypto. I can see hemp being more of a currency than crypto ever will be. Bitcoin, like I said, is untenable in its current state. You simply cannot use it as a currency. As an asset or a store of value, it is piss poor. Well, Dimarip, it's not, crypto didn't fail just because it didn't fulfill some promise of being decentralized. Actually, it's the governance model that is too centralized that is the problem. But I guess you're right. It's the governance model. The governance model is one of mob rule, a democracy. It is the purest form of a democracy. And the purest form of a democracy is mob rule. And that is the one thing that just doesn't work. And it's really simple. I mean, all you have to do is look at the left in this country, and they keep on talking about how we have to preserve our democracy. They want to preserve the democracy because it does their bidding. The United States is not a democracy. It is a decentralized republic. It is so decentralized that it's right down to the individual who holds the ultimate power. Crypto can't ever do that unless they could approach that. They could sort of mimic the United States and their ways, a representative republic or a decentralized republic or a federation. That would make more sense in terms of a governance model. And that is true, Casper. You should start your own channel if you're so enamored with this. And but seriously, I'm really growing tired of you, and I think the people here in this chat are growing tired of you. And so I'm just saying that, back off, or I'm gonna boot you. Quite frankly, I'm growing tired of you. I don't want to address anything that you have to say anymore. Thompson Truckins asks, any thoughts on Deutsche Bank, 15 billion market cap? No. No, I mean, should I have thoughts? Do I have a core long-term 5+ year investment? If so, could you please share some? Other than gold, silver, and stock, what could do better than 200 to 300% over the next 5 to 7 years? Well, the only thing that's going to do better than 200 to 300% for sure is hemp. I mean, that is a given. So if you want a sure thing, that is a sure thing. Hemp is a sure thing. But in terms of long-term investments or wealth building, it all comes down to primarily property and income-producing property and income-producing. When I say income-producing properties, that could be physical real estate, or it could be businesses and passive income. To me, that's what I want to invest in terms of my wealth. That's what brings in the cash flow. That's what increases my total wealth and things that I can pass on to children. You can preserve wealth with certain things, antiquities, metals, some real estate, treasuries, not so much, cash definitely not, some artful jewelry or art, rare coins, collectible cars, anything, that can preserve wealth. It's not going to make you a lot of money. But land, and particularly land that can produce income, is perhaps the best long-term investment. But I'd have to put hemp right up there. Hemp is, from an industrial point of view, medicinal point of view, energy point of view, food source point of view, recreational point of view, it is just going to blow the top off of everything. That is something that I can really get into. Fixed income fund from banks. You mean like CDs, certificates of deposits? The income is so minuscule. I mean, it might be a portion of it, just for the stability, a portion of your money flow, your income, your cash flow. But that's really what you want to develop. You want to develop cash flow. Develop cash flow. And things that will accrue in value. If you wanted to invest in something that has a really good chance of doubling, tripling, 10 times, 1,000 times your investment, cannabis, hemp, absolutely, 1,000%. Good luck to you, Casper. I don't need you to shape my views. As a matter of fact, if anything, you have done exactly the opposite from your point of view. You have driven me off of it. I mean, crypto so far has been a fad. It's a very interesting experiment. There's been a lot of very talented people that have put a lot of fantastic effort into developing the technology. Problem is that it is incongruous. It is antithetical. It is untenable. It simply will not work in our current culture or economic situation. Well, I would prefer a watcher that he just leaves on his own, but quite frankly, if I see, 2 or 3 more Casper quotes or comments in a row, I've had it up to here. So there we go. What specific investment vehicles would you use for hemp? Sounds like a highly competitive market with much risk. Do you suggest buying and holding major pot ETFs? Right now, that's the best thing that you can do. There are many companies that are already making hemp products that are perfectly legal in the United States and elsewhere. Mostly healthcare products, creams and that sort of thing. and even food that you can buy in the supermarket right now. Am I still long S&P? No, I am. So I don't think that I've. It depends whether or not you're talking medium term, short, or short term or long term. Long term, absolutely. The markets I am definitely long. Medium term, I am less long, but I'm still long. Short term, obviously, you have to be short. So MJ is probably the best of the pot ETFs out there. And currently, let's take a look at it. So here's MJ. It represents the 30 biggest concerns. Virtually all of them, or most of them, are Canadian companies. I called this top here right on, to the day, and said that it would go below 24. It did. We have a little bit what I would consider a dead cat bounce, because I still believe it's going to go below 22, maybe even below 20. Because right now, most of those pot companies are grossly overvalued. And there will be a whole range of new companies that will come online that are going to take advantage of the new regulation and new law that is permitting farmers to grow hemp here in the United States. That will eventually break down the stranglehold that the DEA has had on cannabis and its proliferation. So I think that once they delist it on their Schedule 1 as a Schedule 1 drug, that is going to open the floodgates for new companies to pour in. And we're already getting there. They've already relaxed their position on it and have admitted, in order to be a Schedule 1 drug, it has to have no known medicinal use, or determined to have no medicinal use. And it's very clear, even the government shows that it does have medicinal use. And everyone knows that it has medicinal use. So that is one of the criteria for being a Schedule 1 drug. So it will eventually come off. As soon as there's some attention put towards it. Right now the attention for Congress is elsewhere. But I know that it's an easy pass. And when that happens, everything will open up. Everything. So Casper comes in as defied justice. So we'll just get rid of him too. And I'll just keep on deleting his shit unless he comes in as somebody that wants to come in and talk sanity. Because it doesn't do my channel any good, and nobody wants to listen to a bullshit artist. So my view of Bitcoin over the next couple of years has not changed. I've said that it will be in a range between 1 and 4K, probably for the next 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. It may have some occasional pops above that, pushing its head above water, but I think that it will be on the lower end of that range. Until somebody comes up with some kind of killer application or use case that and makes it easy for the average person to use and approach and want to use. So that is the definitive word on Bitcoin, and I believe that follows with crypto. There are some edge cases that may make some inroads, and they will help bring that along. Companies like Hedera Hashgraph. I think you should watch them. James Push. So you actually have some money in S&P long-term positions. No, I don't invest in the market long-term. I never have. I trade it. The only investments I make are in things outside of the market, real things. And, you know, things, you know, property, basically, businesses. So if I buy MJ at 20 and hold for 5 years, you'll think it will do very well. Yeah, I think it will. I think it will. I don't know if MJ is going to be the thing that catapults. I think that there will be many other ETFs that will come online as more companies emerge. Wahim Consalves. Hello, Ernie. Do you recommend get into your course if I only have 500 pounds or euros, I guess that is, and then I can't put much money for trade, or you recommend save money and then go to your course? Well, okay, so first of all, it's not a course. It is an alert service, and yeah, you would need some money. And the $500 that you're talking about may be referring to the volume profile course. And yeah, you know, you want to have. Now with volume profile, you can trade virtually anything, including Forex. And so in Forex, you can take micro positions. So you can trade with very little money. So the course itself, I think, is valuable whether you're going to trade in a $1,000 account or a $1 million account. So yeah, I think that the course itself is an intro to volume profile, and it gives you foundational knowledge on how the market behaves based on its structure. And from that, you can develop some great strategies. Damien, I just finalized the sale of cannabis license. It was to a group that are going around all over the country buying up as many licenses as they can and are going public this year. A few groups doing it. I don't know what kind of license we're talking about. I mean, licenses to grow, licenses to create oils, licenses to cultivate hemp, licenses to what? Licenses for a dispensary. There are all kinds of licenses. So are you currently tracking the S&P? Yeah, of course I do. I track it all the time. I'm not sure I understand where you're going at this, James Push. Wahim says, I follow you for a year and know that sooner or later I want to learn from you. I really don't know what to do. Well, I mean, perhaps you can give me a call and we can talk about your situation and what you're looking to do. And the easiest way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, traderoffutures.com, go to the About link, and then there's contact information there, and I'd be happy to talk to you. But, you know, I wouldn't recommend just jumping in and start trading with no savings, no money, no income. I mean, these are things you need to develop multiple sources of income, make yourself stable before you start delving into any kind of heavy-duty investing or trading. Rusty Trades is a charter of Bitcoin on UT. Big consolidation going on cannabis, says Damien, but, you know, be specific. In AZ, you get them all. I really don't know what that means, under one license. I have no idea. I've never heard of any one license that covers everything. And I'm pretty in tune with the industry. You had an S&P long position for that Santa rally. I'm wondering if you closed that position. Yes. Jacob Wall says, breaking. State Department issues China travel advisory. Wow. Interesting. I would think that they would issue a Russia advisory, too. Russia travel advisory. Especially with that, that gentleman that was recently detained as a spy. The group I sold to is focusing on mostly retail. Yeah, okay, so you're talking about dispensaries. There are lots of other different types of licenses. But, you know, the dispensaries, they're only taking care of one very small portion, either medicinal or recreational, sometimes both, but one or the other. And most states require those dispensaries to grow their own or have licensed growers. James, you're asking questions that nobody is going to answer. Please, now you're getting annoying. MJ is currently at $26.40. Is this the ETF you think will fall to 20 or 22? Yeah. I mean, I already called it to fall below 24, which it did, and that was probably a good buy. I think that it can go lower. I think the current rise is probably because of the legislation that recently passed. Now, was that signed into a law? I know that there was a bill. Let's find out. The Farm Bill. So let's take a look at that. Well, this is the official government site. Kind of a modern site for a government site. The Washington Compost has an article on it. I'm reticent to read that. The Boston Globe isn't much better, but I suppose we can look at that. We can look at Wikipedia. And the choices for information these days are really going downhill. The United States, the Farm Bill is the primary agricultural and food policy tool of the federal government. The comprehensive omnibus bill is renewed every 5 years or so and deals with both agriculture and all other affairs under the purview of the United States Department of Agriculture. It usually makes amendments and submissions to provisions and blah, 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 blah. It can be highly controversial and can impact international trade and environmental conservation, food safety, and the well-being of rural communities. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Again, this doesn't really say what we are looking for. What we want to know is, how will the Farm Bill affect hemp? Let's put that out there. Hemp. The Farm Bill, hemp legalization, the status of CBD. From the Brookings Institute. When was this? This week, Congress agreed to the final version of the 2018 Farm Bill, and President Trump is expected to sign the legislation within days. But it is not your typical farm bill. While it provides important agriculture and nutritional policy extension for 5 years, the most interesting changes involve the cannabis plant. Typically, cannabis is not part of the conversation around farm subsidies, nutritional assistance, and crop insurance. Yet, this year, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's strong support and leadership of the issue of hemp has thrust the cannabis plant into the limelight. Now, a lot of this stuff is well known. They go into some history. Hemp is legal in the United States with serious restrictions. The allowed pilot programs to study hemp, and often labeled industrial hemp, that were approved by both the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, and the State Department of Agriculture. This allowed small-scale expansion of hemp cultivation for limited purposes. So they're stepping into this. They're pussyfooting into this. The 2018 farm, that's because they want control. And the more that they can say no, the more power that is derived from that. Farm Bill is more expansive. It allows hemp cultivation broadly, not simply pilot programs for studying market interest in hemp-derived products. All right, so there's... All right, I guess this is what they're saying. The 18 Farm Bill kind of gets around a lot of the restrictions. It also puts no restrictions on sale, transport, and possession of hemp-derived products, so long as those items are produced in a manner consistent with the law. In other words, that they have less than 0.3% THC. However, the new Farm Bill does not create a completely free system in which individuals or businesses can grow hemp whenever and wherever they want. There are numerous restrictions, such as the 0.3% THC. But this would open things up, I believe, for CBD, big time. And the market is catching a bid. Ultimately, the Farm Bill legalizes hemp, but it doesn't create a system in which people can grow it as freely as they can grow tomatoes or basil. This will be a highly regulated crop in the United States for both personal and industrial production, which is crazy. James, again, you are becoming annoying. I answer questions, but you are just being annoying, so go away. Snuffleupagus Brown. Hello, Ernie. How about Monero getting deal with Fortnite? Should we see anything coming from that? Virtual skins are picking up. Fortnite has made billions in skins sales. Monero is I think the crypto of choice for the dark web. And primarily I see that that's where it will live, and it might expand there. And there may be some interesting technologies. Now you say with Fortnite, I don't know what the details of that deal are. So hemp farmers will be treated like other farmers. That's good to know. Cannabidiol, or CBD, is made legal under specific circumstances. One big myth that exists about the Farm Bill is that cannabidiol, or CBD, a non-intoxicating compound found in cannabis, is legalized. It is true that Section 12619 of the Farm Bill removes hemp-derived products from its Schedule I status under the Controlled Substances Act, but the legislation does not legalize CBD generally. As I have noted elsewhere in this blog, CBD generally remains a Schedule I substance under federal law, which is that's got to change. Once that changes, things are going to really open up. Ernie, in the old days, didn't you chart Apple stock? Is it a good buy now at 145? Yeah, I mean, I used to be known as the Apple investor. I did everything around Apple. Right now, I am not entirely enthralled with Apple. They're one of that liberal Silicon Valley cabal that really worries me. I think the quality of their products has diminished greatly under the leadership of Tim Cook. I think that he is a master at supply chain management and deals of that sort and operations. But a lot of the other quality stuff is being held together by some of the old factions that still exist that were under the tutelage of Steve Jobs, and so that's a good thing. But in general, I don't agree with the direction that Apple is going in. One other thing on MJ markets in the U.S., I feel the government is only stalling to allow Big Pharma to prepare logistics to consume and control the market. Well, of course, they want to control the market and they want to regulate it. They want to say no. And again, that is how Congress and people that are in power derive their power, by saying no. Marijuana, cannabis, hemp is a friggin' plant. It grows naturally. It grows wild. So they're going to do whatever they can to... Jacob says, Tim Cook can't be fired because he's a minority, because he's gay. Look, there's no arguing that Tim Cook, since he took hold, turned Apple into the biggest company in the world. And so I guess for that he must be commended. But where he's taking it from an ideological point of view. And look, Steve Jobs was as much of a liberal, but he was a liberal, but he wasn't a leftist. He believed in capitalism and free expression. But I don't think that he is anything like Tim Cook. Tim Cook is taking it to a different level. Maximus says, if the hemp farmers will be treated as conventional farmers, then it will be sad. Farmers are exploited these days, highway robbery in terms of how little they pay them for crops. Yeah, so, yeah, Tim Cook is a sad... he's like a shadow of Steve Jobs, and just the bad parts of the shadow. Actually, you know, and it's really interesting that Steve Jobs had him under his wing for such a long time and put a lot of faith in him. And I think that he felt that he would do good in terms of keeping the company viable and efficient. And for that, I think, you know, he's done a great job. There's no doubt. You cannot deny. But he ain't no Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the classical liberal, not the liberal of today. Today, a classical liberal in today's parlance would be considered a conservative or alt-right or neo-Nazi. That's how far left the left have gone. Steve Jobs was a capitalist through and through, and he believed in the rights of the individual, the ultimate right of the individual. I don't believe that is Tim Cook's view at all. Snuffleupagus Brown says his uncle is a professor at Harvard. It's kind of a random thing. Not sure exactly where you're going with that, but it's interesting. I guess. Bitcoin Bubble says short Apple. True Grit says the lib today is a communist. And see, I really, it is a misuse of the word liberal. You know, using that. I mean, communists aren't liberal. They're tyrannical. They want government control of the means of production. Today's Democrat, or at least in the Democrat Party, they are not. There are plenty of liberals still in there, good people, but it has been taken over and is a growing segment of leftists, of these Democrat socialists, which there is no such thing. They are essentially Marxists. Maximus says, yep, there was only one Steve Jobs. Such guys come around rarely. The Apple ship is sinking. It'd be very difficult for it to sink, only because of its penetration into the market, its iconic status. So it's going to be really, really difficult. How come I don't trade Apple? Long puts are called. I don't trade any equities. A better question would be, how come how come I don't trade equities, maybe? Or how come I don't trade Apple? I am primarily an educator, a service provider, a business provider, an entrepreneur, a consultant. So is it a great opportunity to short Apple? That's a good question, or it may be a statement. Let's take a look at Apple. So, get the daily chart on. So you would short Apple after such a huge decline. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Apple took a hit on their earnings, but they always take hits on their earnings, it seems. They're such a pushover for sell-side analysts. Wahim is saying, can you say something good about Enigma, ENG, or for you, is it just another crypto with no purpose, or it doesn't make any sense to exist and get any value in the future? I have to admit that I don't know a lot about Enigma. I think I've come across it at some point. But in general, I would say that, because I know that 99% of cryptos that are out there in projects really have no real value or purpose, or are scams or are fraudulent. I'm not saying that Enigma is, but it may be one of those good projects. It may be, and it may have some future. I don't know. So I can't comment on it directly. I'll look at it. So Snuffleupagus Brown says his Harvard uncle studied at an MIT, and he's in touch with a couple of people that said that they're definitely working on blockchain for the HIPAA policies with hospitals. That's interesting. I was an expert in HIPAA, and the models around HIPAA. I'm HIPAA certified, and so that makes sense. I know that MIT did have a medical coin early on, and so it makes sense. I mean, I did a lot of work at MIT and with MIT people and Harvard people around HIPAA several years ago. So I would not doubt it. I would not doubt that they're putting some money into it. I'm crypto at least from a security point of view, may make sense in terms of the integrity, immutability of medical records and privacy. So I can see that. It's not very efficient, but perhaps they're coming up with a very efficient means or some sort of layer on top of current data. You don't like to trade and make money. I never said that. James, now you are really getting annoying. I thought some ways I might think that you're Casper, but Casper has a particular signature. You have your own signature. Casper's signature is just like grating at you. You recognize him immediately. You say, "Fuck off." I'm starting to get that way with you. Sorry about the last post. I have Shrek fingers. Yeah, me too. Oh, you can't see. Yeah, I've got... And look at this hand. It's all fucked up. I don't know if you can see that. This finger's tendon is all fucked up. Hurts like hell. Apple sold out to the Chinese Communist government. I never bought any Apple products and never will. Well, one thing that bothers me with that they did give them control over their security keys. And I think, yeah, Adam, you're right. It's a little bit too late to short it now. How do you short something that is down? Let's see how far down Apple is. So at 233, and now at 141, right? Got to bring out the old calculator here. So it's dropped almost 40%. A 40% drop. How can you short something after it's dropped 40%? That would be very difficult. But that is a monumental drop. I don't, Pooja Lace, I don't understand what you're saying. Bitcoin bubbles Zorro 99 reference I'd send me. And you keep on saying I'd send me. I don't, maybe you're not, English isn't your first language, so I'm having a hard time understanding what your reference is to Zorro 99 and what you're talking about. My signature is that you're also a scam, just like the markets. So how is it that I'm a scam? What is my scam? So when you throw out things like that, you have to ask yourself, so okay, what is the scam that Ernie is perpetrating on people? That I come up here and provide my opinion? Is my opinion a scam? That doesn't seem to, comport to the definition of scam. How is an opinion a scam? Don't get it. Looks like Apple has good positive volume now. Yeah, I don't know. Apple looks tough. I mean, being down this much, I would be inclined to buy Apple for sure. I think that makes a lot of sense. Down this much, anything down this much, especially a company that has, and the guidance that they gave wasn't that bad. I think the industry always overreacts on their forward-looking. I just don't like the direction that they're going in. One of the things that really bothered me, that Apple had a really great product called OS X Server. And then they just, all of a sudden, just got rid of it and turned it into the Profile Manager. And it provided all these great services, such as being able to host multiple websites, email, directory services. I mean, it was really a fantastic piece of software. And then they just stripped everything right out of it. Like they didn't want to be in that business anymore. And that really bothered me. It's just one small instance of a wide range of things. You feel that we're in a bubble and that the housing market will be the first to collapse and the stock market to follow? Is that a statement or question? Because I've never really stated that I thought we were in a bubble. I think that there is another credit bubble seeming to loom. If we're in a bubble, that's hard to tell. We've had a year-long correction. So I've never seen a bubble that had a year-long correction, sideways correction, essentially a sideways correction. I mean, if you take a look at the ES, on a weekly basis, let's look at the Dow. Let's see. There we go. So if you look at this from a long-term basis, I mean, here we've had this long consolidation, and you could look at this from a big picture point of view. And yeah, we moved down here a bit. Let's clone this. One could argue that this is a kind of a flag or a pennant. It's kind of an odd shaping pennant. Something like this. But even over, say, a monthly view, I mean, we had other corrections that were equally as bad. You look at this here. So to me, this just looks like another correction on the way. You know, I don't. I don't see anything particularly bad about this. From a total pullback point of view or percentage point of view, I mean, if you look at it from a retracement point of view, I mean, we've come off the bottom here. You know, it's not that much. It's, you know, it's in correction territory, you know, that I guess it avoided the 20%er, but still, it's just not, it's not that bad. Yeah, you know, I don't know all the tools, Adam, but thank you. I'll check that out. The S&P trade that you lost based on your 100 years of experience doesn't jive with the service that you are selling, because it has nothing to do with the service that I'm selling. You know, it was a separate trade. True Grit, it looks like the metals are on a move up. What would you make your bullish on let's see. It looks like the metals are on the move up. What would make you bullish on gold and silver? Let's take a look. Look at gold futures. So yeah, they are on the move up. I think we're going to see some resistance right here at 1300, obviously. We're actually at some strong resistance right here at 1290. You can see from the big volume well here. If we were able to break through 1290, 1294, I think that we may have clear sailing right up to about 1310. So there is still room for it to move up. Now, this is assuming that the market is going to think that inflation may be an issue. And, you know, it has a lot to do with the Fed and their incessant need to push interest rates. They've caused an inverted yield curve. As a matter of fact, why don't we check that out? Let's check out the inversion of the yield curve. So on December 24th, I measured the yield curve, and this was a dramatic difference from back in September, where we were definitely inverted, and the orange curve was up here somewhere. I need to bring in another tool. Command Alt. All right. So that was the yield curve right there. Let's see. I need to take my face off of here. All right. So this was the yield. Let's see. As of December 24th, this was the yield curve. Back in September, it was like this. All right, so after just 2 weeks, we could check out what the yield curve is today. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to a site that I use a lot. Let's see, hold on. At the CME group. I'm going to flash it very quickly so you can see it. Here's the site. Shows the current yields. And I'm going to input these current OTR yields into my spreadsheet so you can see what the current yield is. And so we'll compare it. All right, so 2.48. 2.47, 2.53, 2.63, 2.95, and 2.96. All right. So you can see how the yield curve just dropped. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this little feature here and trace this yield curve. All right. Then I'm going to Command Y. I'm going to go back and input the new values and show you the difference. All right, so you can see we had what's called a parallax move. In other words, the entire yield curve has moved down a little bit. Now, the one exception is on the short portion of the curve, the 2-year versus the 5-year were slightly inverted. And a lot of people are going to notice that and then complain, saying, oh, we got an inverted yield curve, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's mostly because the Fed has moved short-term interest rates for like 1 year or overnight lending way up here. And that kind of pulls or tugs at the shorter end of the yield curve. But there's our current yield curve. You can see that it's dropped dramatically. And that's because the market has been weak. Adam says, James, no one can predict the market with any sort of accuracy. That's delusional if you believe that. Because James said last time you did S&P analysis, you messed up big time. Yeah, but I admitted it. I don't understand When I chosen to go long at that day, the day that I said I'm going long, it started to go long. And then they arrested the Chinese CFO in Vancouver, and then that's when the market just tumbled. So you're right, I couldn't have predicted that, and that's what happened. If we're entering a recession, then gold would go down with everything else. That's true. I agree, Spook. A lot of things are not the same as in 2008. When the shit really hits the fan, gold to 20,000 per ounce and silver to 1,000 sounds crazy, but could easily be possible. What do you think, Ern? No, I don't. And, you know, when you say shit hits the fan, that means we'd be in hyperinflation, and I don't think that that's going to happen either. They have too strong of a handle on it. They're going to make us suffer, you know, to prevent it. But I don't think that we're going to see hyperinflation anytime soon. It's possible, but look, I am not going to throw it away out of the realm of possibilities because anything is possible. I'm just going to say that it's not likely. So again, James Push is a troll. He just wants to prove that he's right and that I'm wrong. But I do use the AI. I just do other trades other than the AI. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be 100% right. The AI is definitely a better trader than I am. He's referring to the AI setups, my service. It is far better than I am. Way, way, way better. So I would say that, yeah, I've been much better off just following the AI, but I did not. And that's the way it goes. You know, you suffer through your mistakes and you learn from them. Very interesting. Very interesting how the market is behaving today. All right, so now I need to get rid of this. There we go. So, yeah, so gold right here, this is a strong support level. See this drop off in here. This would be a strong resistance level right here. So I can see us moving up through there. And then possibly settling here. Can you see that? Yeah, I guess you can. So if we continue to hear the type of speak, the Fed speak, I can see that. But I think that there's some waning in what Jerome Powell is saying. And I think there's overall this move up on gold and the move down in the market is reflective of the lack of confidence that we have in Powell and the Fed. So what I have here is my possible scenarios. And I made this call a while ago. I said that it's likely that we would move up very quickly through this gray area and then settle here. that we'd come back down and test this, but then ultimately move up to this area here. You know, the possible scenario was that we would, you know, not do that and then just come, you know, straight down, which we haven't. What we actually did was we came down to about here, and it looks like we're starting to move up here. We're back into this area. Right about there. So that's my medium to long term or medium term analysis. See? This is the Dow. So I drew this graph, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago on one of my shows. But these are the possible scenarios I see. I think this is the highest level scenario here, up into this area, right here. This is the highest level scenario. I'm going to make these different colors. Let's make this a nice purple. That's the highest level scenario. I don't know what's going to happen once we get up here. Will we continue up, go down? I have no idea. But I would say that, again, going up is the highest level scenario. We'll make that one a little bit darker. Yeah, and thank you, True Grit. It was a nice call on oil. You can't have all the calls, I guess. And yeah, the oil call was an unbelievable call. But I didn't make that call. Well, actually, I did. But then we had a trade inside the AI setups trade room. Or the AI setups sent out an alert that was just blew it away the other day. Yeah, of course. Any call that I make, James is going to say, well, you know, everyone knew that. So anything that I got right, it was because everybody knew that. And anything I got wrong was because I was an idiot. That's right. The AI called a breakout buy with 100% accuracy. What is PPT? PPT, well, it could be one of two things. It could be PowerPoint. You know, that's the file type for a PowerPoint file. Or it could be the plunge protection team. And the PPT is really made up of Mnuchin, the Jerome Powell, the head of the SEC, and the head of the futures, CFTF. Do I follow Mike Maloney? He does an interesting video on gold and silver yesterday. I do. I do follow Mike, and I like a lot of his stuff. I also think that he's a little bit manipulative, but overall he gives good content. So he has his own business, and I know that that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to promote that business through his content, but overall he has pretty good content. True Grit says, you want to get sick? They're introducing and swearing in the new Congress. Yeah. Yeah. Most people knew crude was going lower. Didn't have to pay someone like me. Yeah. So he's relying on the TTM squeeze, and the weekly showed that crude was going lower. You're a fucking idiot. James, truly, you are a fucking idiot. That's all I've got to say about that. So anyways, that's going to be it for this show. And it originally started off as giving the outlook on crypto and Bitcoin. I think crypto, or I should say more specifically distributed ledgers, has a definite future in enterprise and in other concerns, but it's not now. It doesn't solve any problems better right now, or at least to a point where people will say, yeah, we must adopt this new way of doing things. We must change everything that we're doing, throw everything away and go that way. It is not there yet. Most people wouldn't know what to do anyways. And Bitcoin is flawed and will not be a reserve currency ever. It is a dubious store of value at best. It's an interesting phenomenon, absolutely, and it's tradable. So I would say that. And I don't see it going above or staying within a range, at least for the next year and a half, 2 years. And this big gray area is my range. And so if we were to, move outside of that, so you can see where that is. There's my range for Bitcoin going forward. Where it says target, that's my intermediate target, and I think that we're going to stay in that area. And for me, accumulating anywhere in this area, greater near the bottom of that channel, lesser at the top of that channel, I think is a good idea. But now it's time to say goodbye. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. And take a look at the AI setups. Go to traderofutures.com if you're interested in that service. We now have 75 members. We started the service in October. In January, we're going to be looking for 25 new members. We're trying to bring on about 25 people, 25 to 35 people a month, so that we can absorb the support, the extra support that's required to handle that extra number of people. And we provide our support on a private channel on Discord. Provides an excellent platform for support. And I just want to say thank you very much. And we shall see you next video. Take care.